Cynthia to introduce our speaker. Cynthia.
Thank you, Paul. This is quite an honor to introduce today's speaker because this is somebody I admire so much. Yeah, so thank you for the opportunity to do this. I really actually don't know how to do it, but I'll try my best to do the best. Ladies and gentlemen, our speaker, she is a visionary and thought leader with over 20 years experience, and she's held several executive positions. She's also served on several boards, actually 16 to be precise. And it's so strange because it includes one of my former employers, my immediate former employer. She served on the board as the board of trustees, that is the Universities Fund Kenya. She is currently the lead consultant at All About Marketing Limited. And our speaker today has won so many awards, one of them being the Best Entrepreneur 2006. And this award was given by the Computer Society of Kenya. She's also won the award Entrepreneur of the Year in 2009. And she was the first runners-up for the ICT Achievers Award, Top ICT Businesswoman. She has relevant trainings and certifications, but notably, she is a PhD holder. She has a PhD in public policy and administration with a specialization in leadership and management from the Walden University, USA. Besides that, she is also a former, she's an alumni of the University of Nairobi, where she studied a degree in sociology. So, ladies and gentlemen, help me to welcome this lady, this visionary leader, this thought leader, this amazing and wonderful person, Dr. Gilda Odera, to take us through this day's topic.
Thank you, Cynthia. Thank you. Good morning. Good morning, all. My good friend Paul knows me, and I can see why you call it Power Monday, because it really does power you up. I was one of those who this morning was feeling so slow and lethargic, but I'm sure by the end or by the middle of this Power Monday talk, I'll be all energized. So I really do appreciate, Paul, you inviting me again. I was here some months ago, and it was a wonderful opportunity to talk to you. And Paul did think that some of you call him Peter, some of you call him Paul, we call him Peter Paul, I call him Sir Paul. And he thought it was a good idea that I come and talk to you about values, because I've been running what I call a series. It's my own personal series on values. And maybe to make you understand, some of you may have seen them. I actually started running this series. I finished them last Friday, the Z. I got led to do an A to Z on values. And every time I'd pick a word that I consider is a value and then talk about it for a minute and a half. But you know, that came out of the Gen Z Mandamano times. That's when it all started. You know, these young people challenged us. If you remember, they really put us, those who are the older lot, not old, older lot, and said, as long as you're not a Gen Z or a millennial, you've let us down. You've watched things go wrong in the country and you've done nothing. You just talk and it's empty talk. What we'd say in a slogan used in Kenya here, because this might be heard by people who are not Kenyans and may not understand, but in Kenya, we call it kizungu mingi. just talking, but not meaning it, not walking the talk. And I thought they were right. They were right. Because when you talk about governance, which is what they were talking about, what is happening in the country. And as I said last time in my governance talk, because values cannot be separated from the word governance. When you talk about governance, the values kick in automatically. And they were right, because when you start from the top in a nation, in the leadership, they had serious questions about how we're being led. What is going on? They did. In fact, last week, I am not a politician, but I cannot help commenting. We saw the last couple of weeks what's been happening in Parliament. We're aware that our deputy president has been impeached. We're all aware there is a court case. I am not a judge, but all that is related to values. We can't pretend about it. We saw on KOT, Kenyans on Twitter, a lot of comments, a lot of questions by Gen Zs, by millennials, much more than us. We speak, but we're shy, we're scared. And so we don't want to say what we think. We don't want to speak out where we have questions. And that's where the whole talk, and that's why I started this whole series on values some months ago. I was just giving you a background. I want to pick, maybe some of you just saw Peter Paul's link and just joined, but I don't know how many of you really read what he wrote when he was announcing the speaker of the day. I don't want to judge you, but I am convinced, Peter, that more than half didn't really read everything. And so I just want to pick what you spoke of so that it can lead me to what I want to talk about today. Incidentally, I need you to tell me how much time I have, Peter.
Yeah, we have about 40 minutes. We can go up to 8:05 thereabout.
Okay. Yeah. I'll try and keep it shorter so people can ask questions. But this is what you said. You define values, and I'm reading it word for word. What you said values are an integral part of what defines a person, a family, a society, even an organization. I dare add a nation to what you added, to what you said. And then you said an individual or organization's values are critical ingredients in determining whether it will achieve sustainable success or eventually fizzle out. Note, the values, whether it's individual or organizational or the nation, I dare add, values are critical in determining whether any one of those will succeed or fizzle out. And some of you may ask, why did you have an nation? An organization can fizzle out and die. An individual success can fizzle out. But what about a nation? And yes, a nation can fizzle out. And so I have to add that. Because when a people feel that the value system has collapsed, when a people feel that they don't trust a judiciary process, if at all they feel it has collapsed, and I'm not saying ours has, I am simply saying when a people feel that, then what happens? We've seen other countries. They take the law in their hands. Because when the law is not respected and there's no value for observing the law, the end result is chaos. And so I'm bringing this out to just show you how important values are. They're not kizungumingi, the way we have made them to be. And I'm speaking to all us Kenyans. Values are not kizungumingi. They're not just empty words. You know, before I jumped in, I was looking at the core values of a few key organizations in this country. I will not name and shame them. You think of key public organizations in this nation, big institutions that we have. I've served maybe in some. There are many. And the core values sound so good. Let me tell you some of them. One of them says, do the right thing. We make a difference. Find a better way. That's what they've put as their core values. Do the right thing. Note that. Another one has said, customer first. That one is a real popular one in almost all organizations. The customer is king. Customer first. But when you see what they do, you even wonder what they're talking about. Others talk of passion. And then, almost all, especially public institutions, you'll hardly miss the word integrity as a core value. And I know I am right about this. Almost all public institutions, organizations in Kenya have integrity as their core value. But I dare ask, is that what we see? Is that what we experience? Do we experience true do we have excellent customer experience? Because they say customer first, for example. Customer is king. Customer this, customer that. And some of you will even Google as I talk and check out one or two. Maybe you even work in some of these organizations and you might talk during the Q&A. Those are the sort of core values we find in our institutions. And in some private organizations as well. But let me say something. An institution is made up of people. It's not the building. It's the people. It's the individuals. And that's why I like the way Paul started by saying that values are an integral part of, and he started with a person. And then he moved to a family. Then he moved to a society. And he moved to organization. And then I took it further to a nation. Because it starts with you and I. Values, whatever we hold dear, and what are they? I say they're the principles. A value is a principle. What you believe in, it's a standard. What you stand for, what you feel is worth for you, what is most important thing and attributes, the usefulness of something for you. That's what you can describe values as. Now, I want to put a disclaimer. Excuse me, my voice is a little husky today. You know, many times let me put it this way. Let me take a step back. Each and every one of us here has a past. Each and every one of us here has one or two things that we did in our past that don't fit in what values are, the principles that I'm talking about today, and sometimes maybe may feel that they don't want to associate with these values because people will say this and that. And I want want to challenge you and I today that we must never look at somebody and judge them for that. Rather, look at their present. Look at their present. Who are they? What have they transformed to become? Are they walking the talk? Because that's what will encourage your neighbor, your friend, your brother, your sister, whoever, to start trying or to start living the values that we adhere to, that we would want to see in our nation, that you'd want to see in your family, that you'd want to see around you. And yes, we must call out things that are wrong, but we must encourage each and every one of us. If you are blessed to be upholding very good values in your life across, we must encourage each other to bring up each other. And so today, that was a pretty long intro that I was giving. But I was asked to explore how strong values can be a foundation for resilience, for innovation, and for long-term growth. Now, when you talk about resilience, by the way, resilience is a core value. It is. Because when you are resilient, you can do what I've just spoken about. You'll not be held down by any past mistakes, but you will look at yourself to see how you can improve. You will not remain down. You will forge ahead. You will do whatever you can in a positive manner to get to where you need to be. That's what being resilient is. You can, as a resilient person, it enables you to overcome challenges. And for you to overcome challenges, you'd have to understand the various values that are there. I've talked about some. For one, if I use the word A and pick two values, I talk about authenticity and I talk about accountability. You see, when you're authentic, you own up to your shortfalls. You don't pretend about it. You own up to it. And you're able to, sorry, I keep touching this, you're able to accept your weaknesses as a person, as a family, as a society, the way I've spoken at the beginning and the way the Gen Zs have pointed to us, and as an organization. And that's why organizations go through reflecting, and even starts from the person. You know, who am I? What am I doing? Where are my shortfalls? What could I do better? That brings out what you really should be improving on. And that's why values are very important when it comes to that, because then you're able to build up on your resilience by being authentic about who you really are, what you have possibly not done and could be doing better, what you have learned, what you have observed even about yourself as an organization, if we're talking about organizations today. But remember, I said organizations are made of people. So it is the people who make organizations fail. Whether it is a leader who is not resilient, has no vision, has no passion, has no integrity, it pilfers down to the nation, to the organization, to the family. So it starts with the individual. We can't run away from that. And we have to be authentic. We have to look at ourselves and ask, Gilda, Where do you think you have fallen short that you think you can improve? And then work towards that. You cannot work towards something if you don't know what it is. And so that's where self-assessments come in. And a number of organizations undertake performance appraisals. I question today, if you're in HR, whether in your performance appraisals, values appear in any way. I've not seen much of that, but I want to challenge and ask us today, and maybe have a conversation in Q&A. Where do you bring in values in your organization when it comes to performance appraisal? Because you cannot met out your core values, which you have put on a big board at the reception, like many do, on your website, like many do, and yet you're not living it up. And people are saying, this organization is this. In fact, you yourselves in your organization, you're the biggest people who criticize the organization and are very disgruntled with either your supervisor, your boss, the head of the organization, your departmental heads, or whatever. The organizational culture, you can't stand it. And yet you are in charge of HR, but it's not come to your mind that how do we bring in the aspects of core values that we talk of in our organization? And when we're doing performance appraisals, we're able to do that 360-degree thing to find out, how do people see Gilda when it comes to our core values? I have a challenge on you on that. And we have to be authentic about it and be honest. It is okay. In fact, it's a strength to accept your weakness, because then you can become strong. And that the other value on the A is the accountability. Because when you're accountable, the way even I've talked on the performance appraisal systems make people accountable to each other. And when there's an accountability system, whether you as an individual, you have somebody who you have. I've seen people who say, I want to do this and you're my person. I'm accountable to you if I don't do this, clamp on me. I want to cut down 10 kg and I need to start exercising. Clamp on me. If you don't see me reporting to you every day what I've done, I send you my, people have accountability systems. So do organizations. And so should a society. And how is our accountability system? How does our accountability work? Even in our nation, who are we accountable to? Are our leaders accountable to us? Do we hold them to account? I'm glad it has started. It really started well, with the Gen Zs, and then, something kind of toned down a bit. And the next thing I know, we found ourselves having people backing down. But there's still accountability going on. There's still people who are on social media, writing articles, and holding our leaders accountable. So do you hold people accountable? And do you allow others to hold you accountable to that which you're supposed to do? To the values that you hold? Do you do that to others? I challenge you on that. To be able to be resilient, going back to that topic, how values can make us resilient, innovative, and have long-term growth. When we talk about innovation in its sense, to be innovative. By the way, I've realized that, and I made that comment earlier, that I see all these organizations having integrity as put up there as their core value. And then, there's mission statements, and a lot of people just want to plunk out, we are a world-class, I don't know what. I'm sorry, nothing personal, but I'm so tired of seeing that world-class statement used. We're a world-class this, but the stuff going on there is far from world-class. Do we even understand what that world-class is that we're talking about? So how about we be innovative and take a step back, look at A to Z values. You can actually look at some of the ones I've spoken on. They exist also, some of them exist in the internet. You'll find, and even talk amongst yourselves, what you consider value. And list as many values as you can in your organization. If maybe you're not in control in your organization, I know some of you may be departmental heads. You could do it at your departmental section as a departmental head and say, guys, I want our department to stand out. I want us to lead by example. I want us to be able to be innovative in the way that we do things in our department. And that starts with values. So let's talk about values so that we can see how we can be able to come up with innovative ways of making our department and our organization stand out. So you start that way. We don't have to make excuses that, well, that it's on the board, it's written customer first, integrity and passion, and so I'm stuck. I don't believe that. I believe an individual, wherever you are, you can be the one to lead and others follow, because what you have is a good thing. And they can see the results from the way you are leading. They can see that you're walking the talk. They can see that your 30 people or your 5 people in your department are very different. And the whole organization looks at them differently with respect. The whole organization, you find people coming to talk to people in your department because there's some transformative change that has occurred because you made it a point to have conversation every week on values and list them out and say, how are we doing on this one? How are we doing on that one? What can we do to bring up this one? And as you do that, even for your organization, as I said, you're doing it from yourself first. It's got to be organic growth. It's organic. You can't do that if you're not doing it for yourself, if you're not believing it for yourself. You first have to believe what you're talking about and have that authenticity, as you said, and then move with it. And as you do that, even when others mock you, because let me tell you, there will always be naysayers. There'll always be people who mock you. There'll always be people who bring you down. Isn't that Helen who's now these days trying to talk to people about values? Who is she to tell us about values? Isn't she the one who did this or that the other day? And what they're talking about is something maybe 5, 10 years ago. Yes, but Helen is improving. Helen has become aware of what she needs to improve on, and she's making an effort. So the naysayers will be there. But I would say the Helen, shut out those voices. Don't let them discourage you. Keep going with your team. And you know what? At the end, as you keep going, that's what you call resilience. Resilience means shutting out the negative voices. Resilience means you know where you're going. You know how you're going. You're getting help with how to go. And you're not being put down. Resilience means even though people try to discourage you, you can go forward. Resilience means you're going to face challenges, but you will overcome them. Resilience means that some of the people you're trying to carry along may not be so easy to carry along, but you're resilient enough not to give up on them, but to continue bit by bit until they see what you mean. They see it in you. They see it in the one or two people who you've managed to convert to your value story. And they see there's a good thing there. I want to be part of that story. And slowly the noises, the naysayers, these noises start reducing. The naysayers start reducing because they even have shame. Because even as they're talking, people are asking them. In fact, more people start telling them, you're too much on Gilda. She's actually trying to do a good thing. Why don't you give her a chance? That's what resilience creates. So you don't give up. When you're resilient, you don't give up because you have a goal, a long-term goal. And that long-term goal is to grow. First, individually. Next, within your family, within your society. And your family is your organization, people in your department, they're your family. Many times we don't appreciate this. When you think about it, how much time do you spend at home with your children, husband, and wife, if you have any, or whoever you live with, compared to the amount of time you spend in the office? The amount of time you spend in the office is so much more. That's a family. But what sort of family is it? You walked in there, you looked for a job, maybe you don't like what you found. But what value do you have in you that you can use to bring transformation in that organization or where you were placed? Has it occurred to you that the reason why God put you in that organization was not to go and earn your good perks? Kenyans, we have to stop putting money first. Yes, money is important. Yes, we need to survive. Yes, we need to live comfortably. By all means. Yes, we need to feel appreciated for our intellect, for our work. And we should. And we must. But when you put values first, it brings the best of you. And when the best of you comes out, you stand out. And when you stand out, you're not only noticed by the people who are around you, but by people who are outside and are looking at you from far, but you don't even know. You become what I call a walking epistle. A walking epistle is somebody who doesn't have to speak, but people see and they say, there's something about her, there's something about him that I admire, that I like, that I want to get closer to, that I want to learn more about. So I too can become like that. That's what a walking epistle is. And so you can be a walking epistle in your organization. You don't have to be a boss. You don't have to be the supervisor. You don't have to have any position. All you have to have is to be someone who is placed somewhere. And you've been placed in your family. You've been placed in your neighborhood. Do you know there's so many people? And I have to say, I call him Sir Peter Paul. He's one of such. I'm not praising you for the sake of it. But he's one of such. That's why you all come into Power Monday. Because even within his neighborhood, he stepped out. But when you are serving with values, people see you. People notice you. You know, when Paul, when you started this Power Monday, when you started when you wrote it, Live to Dream, you know, you remember we had conversations, live your dream. And I said, come on, Paul, you're a scientist, you're a physicist, you are, my goodness, you have so much in there. So why do you want to do this? And we used to have some of those debates in my Rotary Club when you just joined. And you know what? Today, as I speak to you, some of you may have just joined today and you don't even know Paul, the founder of all this, with his colleagues. But I must say this. If he was not resilient, I would not be here today talking to you about values. And all those other speakers that you have all enjoyed and picked something from. But you know, he started small and he never gave up. And he kept going. Even if he'd have 6 people, so be it. He kept going. And he kept sending the invitations. He has sent me those things in my WhatsApp message for so long. And he says, come on, get up and join. That's the power of resilience. I don't have to go far to share with you and give you an example of the power of resilience. We're right here experiencing it today. And I don't know whether you know his story, but maybe one day he should be a guest speaker to his own thing. And then invite as many, and then you all invite as many to hear his story. And he talks about, so that he can talk to you about resilience. Because that is what resilience brings out. And it's brought out innovative things. I heard him talking about having a dinner this past weekend. Because from this came out a group of people who realized we need to network more. They're feeding each other's businesses so well. And they said, why don't we be having a dinner? And it moved. It's just been innovative from one thing to another. And I have seen growth. It is a perfect example of what we're talking about today on values. Resilience. It is a foundation for innovation, for long-term growth. We've seen the growth, and he's still growing. And so that is what I would say about resilience. And I think I'll sum it up there, Paul, so that people can talk, they can chat, they can give their comments. But I love that I've ended with you. You are a demonstration of the power of resilience and using that core value to touch others' lives, to make a difference, and above all, to live your dream. Thank you.
Amen. Thank you. Thank you very much. I'm humbled to hear that. A few times I talk about myself. It's not easy to talk about self sometimes without people feeling like you're being too full of yourself. And you mentioned some very critical things. You know, as Live Your Dream, part of what we do has a lot to do with people, actually everything we do. And when we are with organizations, even the leaders of the organization, and you ask them their values, you realize that they don't even know them. They have to go to Google, get to their website to read them. You see, then you wonder, how can they be your values if you actually don't even know them? Yeah. For individuals, most people don't even think about values as individuals. It's quite interesting. And that's why, even when it comes to how we give out promises, people will just say, I will do this. They don't even think about it. It's not even part of their value to keep their word. And then you wonder why people want to grow into leadership. Yeah, I'd like you maybe to touch briefly on values when it comes to recruiting, onboarding people, or choosing organizations we want to join or groups we want to join? Maybe you can touch briefly on that.
Oh, wow, that is a whole discussion in itself. I will try to manage myself in answering that. But I have experienced a lot, having chaired a lot of committees on recruitment in various organizations. And one of the things that saddens me, especially in the public sector, is that it is really important for them. It is a key question that must always come, that somebody must, and then it's always said, no, we must give 5 points to that. And then they say a question on integrity. And I'm always like, come on, guys. Question on integrity. Integrity is what you are, what people, so people will always come and then they quote chapter 6 on integrity in the Constitution, and then get a good 5 marks. Some places they say, no, we must give them 10 marks because integrity is a really important thing in this country. 10 marks. And the person is just cramming that chapter 6, but not living it. So, I had to say that one because that one really normally, I pray that one day in the public sector, that thing can be looked at in a different way. But yes, in terms of core values, you see, as I said, Paul, values are, as I said, one is a walking epistle to demonstrate your values. There are some that are evident when you're interviewing and you can see. And then it's also good to understand from somebody when you're interviewing them. And it's a good question to ask. What do you hold dear to you when it comes to values? It's a good question HR people should ask. I ask that normally, so that you can hear from them what standards they hold dear. And if that is the person you're recruiting and they are the best after that, please never just write those things in the interview thing and then you all walk away and forget. Those values should be shared to whichever department that person is going to, because they spoke them out. And so they should be expected to live them out in the organization. That's one way of making people accountable when you're recruiting them and they have stated those things. That's how I'd answer you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Like you said, people know the answers that they are expected to give. And so they will verbatim give it out. You ask, sometimes I ask, like my children, or with other people, uh, things we were taught in CRE. If you picked money on the road, what do you do with it? And people will give you the answers they think will be correct. I take it to the teacher, I give it to senior what. But in reality, is that what you will do? That becomes a problem. Yeah. If you were given extra money, you went to buy something, and you are given extra money, will you return it? Many people won't. And sometimes when we discuss these values, you talk about even what causes conflicts. Conflicts are largely caused by what we value. During even political conflicts, somebody talks about you're destroying property and so you should be killed, and somebody says, but you see, this is life, you cannot kill somebody because of material things. It's all about values, and that is what puts people into chaos. Somebody feels this is what is important, somebody feels this is what is important. And I think it's a good thing that we we check on values, we think about what values we really hold dear. We will always stay in peace. Is there anybody with a question? I've not seen a question, I've seen comments
Sorry,
from.
Paul, I wanted to say something just very
Yes,
quickly. I just wanted to
yes,
add something to say that
yes.
unfortunately, those who hold dear core values that are really bringing in matters of integrity, must be alive to the fact that you'll be fought. You will be fought. And it comes back to fight you. But be resilient. Be resilient and carry forward. But be wise, because wisdom is also a value. Be wise how you handle things, because you know where you are, you know the danger you might be in, but do not fear. Fear is not from God. Do not fear standing out for the right thing, but do it with wisdom. That's what I wanted to add.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Yes, I remember one point attending a workshop with somebody, and he said, you better be wise because sometimes you do not have all the strength to face the forces that will be against your good. So you may end up harming yourself. So we hold values, but we stay also wise to know what we can do and not being afraid. If I wanted to get in communication with Gilda, how do I get hold of her? Somebody has asked, somebody called Brenda. Yeah, okay. Maybe you will tell them that. In the meantime, I think we can, because I've not seen questions, I've seen comments, including from Yeda Bageni, current president of the Rotary Club of Milimani. Very happy to hear you. Yes, there is a question that has come from, is it a question from Dr. Florence Ambayo? Could you comment on group pressure or pack pressure? Like in our current parliament and Senate looks like those with great values are being swept down. Yeah, I think that is what she said. It's
Yeah,
risky.
and it is. And Paul, I would tell Flo.
Yeah.
There's a statement that goes, and that's when I started the value series. I remember coming across that and stating that. And I think some of you may have heard that, but it says, evil triumphs when good men do nothing. And one of the things that I know, I've just spoken about it, as you say, one of the things that make people join the rest is because of fear. I have been in situations where I was the Lone Ranger and facing, I'll not go into detail in it, but I had to say, I'm sorry. But I also know God backs me. He has me in the palm of his hand. And in the process of that, when some people saw that, wow, she can say that, I spoke about it during the governance talk I gave. They said, one person joined me and say, I support her, but they were not brave enough to say that, and another, and in the end, I got the victory. But it wasn't me, my victory. It was the nation and the organization got the victory. So fear is what holds people back. And I believe, to answer your question about the Senate and the rest, it's probably that fear of what will the highest office say? What will the other people say if I am the one who says no? We've already been told we must do this, because in Parliament they're whipped. So you're all whipped, and they're whipped in various ways. We hear rumors, I don't know how true it is on how they're whipped. But the choice is yours. The choice is theirs. I think it's very sad that if you can have a whole parliament and that you don't have even one person who can stand out, there must be somebody. You must be the one. Be the one. Be the change you want to see. Otherwise, how will we have change in our country? That's how I'd answer it.
Thank you. And Milka has asked something very interesting, which I believe should be a yes. Is it okay to resign if your boss has no integrity and does not keep his promise instead of waiting to be impeached?
Is it okay to resign if your boss has no integrity? How is his lack of integrity affecting you? That's my first question. Is it also making you join the bandwagon of not having integrity? Or is it him who has no integrity? He or she is not keeping their promise, but you yourself are doing the right thing. Remember what I said. I believe God plants us in places for a reason. Are you the one who is supposed to bring the change there? Are you the one who might bit by bit talk on values and start pricking his or her conscience? I'll challenge you, Milka. That's how I'll challenge you.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, Olale has said something that thanks for great presentation and insight reminds me of a fad in the late 1990s and early 2000s when organizations spent millions on branding and culture change to get the local and international standard certification, among others. But after a while, it was business as usual. Yeah, it was something to do with branding. We are ISO certified, we are what, and things like that. Good. At this moment, because of time, I'd like to invite Maurice to give a vote of thanks on our behalf, and then we move to the next level. Maurice Omondi. Now, Maurice Omondi had actually wanted to invite you to one of his workshops at the coast. Maybe he'll speak about the same. So, Maurice, you can go on.
Okay. So thank you very, very much. On behalf of everyone at Power Monday, I would like to take this opportunity to thank you so much, Dr. Gilda Odera, for this very insightful and inspiring session that you have shared with us. In fact, I was telling Paul Peter, when I saw the poster the first time, I was looking forward to meeting with you on during the dinner, but I'm sure we're going to meet later in the year. Paul Peter, I'm happy to share that we've reached out to Gilda and she has accepted to be one of our speakers during the upcoming East African Resource Mobilization Workshop.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for the insightful and inspiring session. It has been great. And you have shown how strong values can really contribute to the building of the resilience, innovation, and long-term growth of the company. You have shared with us, your wisdom, and you are a storyteller. You talked from your heart. You are not just reading a script. And I personally would love to hear you speak more and more. I think that is what even the other people in this room are. I just picked a few quotes, which I know people pick so many, but there's one that I really resonated with when you said, see how somebody has become. Do not just judge because of how somebody has been in the past. When you say that each one of us in this room have got a past, and yet we have become what we are and we are living certain values. So I really liked it when you say, look at how somebody has become, not necessarily based on how you judge that person from the past. And then there's something also which you mentioned, like see how those people are living their values. And at this also say, be the change that you can become, be the change that you want to see in others. So Dr. Gilda, you are really an inspiration to us and the whole team at Power Monday. You share with us, you are an embodiment of what we aspire to be in terms of values. And you also mentioned Paul Peter. Paul Peter, and he has tried. I don't think even the two books have really captured the whole of his story. I think there could be more, which he has not yet shared with us. But by the fact that he has been able to bring this Power Monday to where it is, and at one point we are more than 80 people in the room, it means that this is really becoming an inspiration for many people, not only in Kenya, but all other parts of the world. So thank you also, Paul Peter and the whole team at Power Monday for bringing this together. It always powers us up and it gives us encouragement to look forward to this day. And I know there is so much. You have shared your contact. I know Dr. Gilda will be reaching out to you. And personally, I'm looking forward to meeting with you at the end of the year when we have the workshop at Mombasa. So thank you very much again, and may God bless you all. Thank you.
Great.
Thank you very much.
Thank you thank you very much, Maurice. Yeah, of course, I can. It's not possible to share all the stories, but as I continue to write, they keep coming. And of course, for people who are at the dinner, I shared quite a bit. Antonia, are you there? You could say something. No, I want to call Melvin, Dr. Melvin. Maybe you can say something about about the topic and our dinner. You can comment on Power Monday matters if you're there.
Right. Thank you, OPP.
Yes.
Our dinner was a wonderful event. in which we had the opportunity to listen to some wonderful speakers, including OPP himself, our poetess, and Nancy Mora, and the keynote speaker, Dr. Musa Obuba, who really, all of them really wowed us. And in between, we had some other speakers. We had some wonderful music, and there was dancing, and we honored those people who were present and who have contributed immensely to the growth of Power Monday, which is basically the brainchild of the vision bearer, OPP himself. So that's a brief outline of the dinner. The venue was fantastic. The food was wonderful. So please mark your calendar for next year's dinner. Thank you, OPP, because it will be in October, at the end of October. We've already planned ahead. This is what's called what Dr. Gilda would call resilience. we're learning from the dinner of this year, and we are planning for next year. Thank you so much. Back to you, OPP.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Dr. Melvin. Yeah, it will be next year on the 31st of October. So plan ahead. Don't reach there, then you say, oh, yeah, I had some other thing. No, you can give it a priority. It was wonderful. I don't know if Antonia is here. She would give any announcement, but in all, Antonia, are you here? I saw her join.